Oops. Oh, shoot, that took a chunk out of. Hey y'all, welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. We're doing a little bit of a get ready with me where I don't really know fully what to talk about. Like, I had an idea, but I'm still not like 100% sure. Mostly I'm thinking about just talking about how it's been during the holiday season being away from home and just like my feelings with all of that. Also, I forgot something like immediately. I forgot to grab effectively the one thing I use as a mirror, and you're probably like, but oh, you got that mirror that's back there. And I'm like, yes, I use that in the mornings when I do my own makeup because I'm just doing it kind of quick, like eyeliner, make sure the foundation's all on, and then I go from there. But here, while I'm recording, I don't want to have that like huge, bulky mirror instead. This Christmas is the first Christmas that I have not spent with family. I'm gonna say not spent at home because my first Christmas was not at the house that I grew up in, nor was a Christmas a couple years later, where that was in Wyoming with my grandparents. So kind of broke off a well. So, but this is the first time I've spent it without family, which I don't know how I feel about it yet. Like, it's kind of sad because I don't have anything to open, like Christmas gifts and whatnot. No, nothing to unwrap. Heck, I literally even told my siblings that like, hey, you know that dress that I found in this video? Yeah, I think that was the correct direction to point at. I was like, if you guys just want to pay for that and that'd be my Christmas gift, perfect. Because then I have a nice dress for an event that I'm like still not 100% sure what the heck is going on with that because I have heard stories. I've heard some stories. But yeah, I've already done Thanksgiving now, not around family, not even really celebrating it. Like, that's my first Thanksgiving in college. I did not go home or spend or go to Kentucky, because actually that was always the thing for Thanksgiving, is we'd go to Kentucky. And I say we would go to Kentucky. It became the family go-to thing to go to Kentucky for like Thanksgiving, to spend it with the family, like all on my mom's side. But yeah, I didn't, because I'd had such bad experiences while traveling that year that it didn't make sense. So I ended up going to spend Thanksgiving with some friends. And like, yeah, coincidentally, that actually ended up being one of my ex-boyfriends later on. But like, yeah, that was how I spent Thanksgiving. But it was still very much, I got to call home. My phone did a weird pop-up thing to be like, you got your data off. And I'm like, yes, I turned off the data. What I was talking about was like, I still got to have that like Thanksgiving experience. So it didn't feel as like bad about not being home. This year for me, however, it was just a normal Thursday. And actually it had started to hit home really that Wednesday, because Wednesday before Thanksgiving was kind of the like, all the family comes into town. When I was in graduate school, I would go to my aunt and uncle's house early to help with like prep work. So that's what I would do, is like I'd get there, do the prep, help on the prep on Wednesday, so I didn't have to do much on Thursday. And that was kind of like the getting to catch up with everybody, spend time. That's really when it like hit me that I was not home. I was not there for them, with them. And then also with actually Thanksgiving, what also did not help at all in the situation was the fact that it was the first Thanksgiving without like my grandmother, and Thanksgiving actually happened to be her birthday. So that was just kind of like a double whammy, that I was also like, I just lost my final grandparent, and like it was her birthday. She would have been 94. So that week was kind of rough. I still do laugh. I'd called home for Thanksgiving. Specifically, I just called home to my parents. And I had asked my mom, like, oh, how's dad doing? Especially because, like, today is his mother's birthday. And she's like, he has not mentioned a thing. I don't know if he remembers it's her birthday. And I'm like, probably does not remember, because there was a Thanksgiving many years ago. It was actually the year that Frozen came out, because, like, I remember we were there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And we were like, oh, we had my grandmother's like birthday lunch at her favorite restaurant, which is the China Buffet for those who are in Wyoming. That was my grandmother's favorite restaurant. So we went there, and then like we went back to my aunt's house to like have cake and everything. And then my dad who was being the fun great uncle, bought like a bunch of like tickets for all of us to go see Frozen, because like at the time my cousin's kids were like toddlers. They were like little kids, so we ended up watching Frozen because it's a cute little like Disney movie. But also in all of this, my dad had completely forgotten that it was his mother's birthday, so we were having to rush over to like the Barnes and Nobles in town to get a card for my grandmother, and he couldn't remember like how old she was either, and he didn't want to ask his sisters because then they would have like yelled at him for the fact that he forgot his own mother's birthday. Like, with all of that being said, that's why like this Thanksgiving was rough. It was the first time that really just was like, it's a normal day for everybody else here, but for me it was like, this is the holiday that I put a lot of stock in. Like Thanksgiving, while I don't like the whole like pilgrim story and it's very all of the things, it still is like, it's a time for family for me, and that was hard. So now when it comes to like Christmas, like I said, this is my first Christmas not being home, which is gonna be interesting. Like my older siblings have all had like at least one Christmas already, like when they were much younger, but all 27 Christmases that I've ever had, I've always been at family, and at least my parents, which I acknowledge I'm like very much a parent. Like I complain about my parents, but I'm very much like a parent's kid. Like we are, especially with my mom, we're very enmeshed. And I acknowledge that probably is not the most healthy, but that's just kind of how we are. Yeah, because my older siblings, one of them, because they had studied in Paris and for a full year, and it was really expensive to bring them home, especially because at the time it was like $1.50 for the euro. This sibling ended up staying in Paris and going with the family that they were tutoring, and spent it in like Nice or somewhere else in southern France. So at least they got to do that. And then my other sibling, who is active duty, like there's periods of time where they're not going to be home. Like usually we'll get the video call on Christmas morning at some point. Kind of have to time it. The last time, oh man, that was they had mentioned a little bit like, yeah, have the video call. Did not tell me when, and so I woke up at like 6 a.m. to this very, very like loud, like the call, and just being like, what the heck? So confused, and realized, oh no, that's my sibling video calling me from where they're on deployment. Okay, let's get everybody else up and ready to go. Which granted actually was, my parents were already awake. I just was the one, because I was a little bit more tech savvy and much more apt to actually use WhatsApp. But like they were like, that's why they had called me, because time zones were such a hassle. I mean, they're still a hassle. It's rough because I'm like about 9 hours ahead of my parents, so there's a very limited window of time where I can call my parents. And I think that's also shocked some of my housemates at like how hard it is for me to even just like contact home, is the fact that it is such a large time zone difference. And in some ways I'm like, I've been used to dealing with time zones since I've had family that's lived in all across the United States, all 4 time zones. But this is just kind of the most extreme, especially because my parents, who are the ones I want to talk to the most, are the ones that have the like most awkward time zone change. The only like saving grace is the fact that because they are retired, I can call them whenever, versus like with my siblings, it has like a very limited window. Usually early morning for me, late night for them, or late night for me, like early afternoon for them. But that's early afternoon on the weekends. Yeah, trying to use like some of the what's its face like eyeshadow. I've got my really old Nubian palette from Juvia's Place that I'm like, I'm gonna probably work on this year, and once, depending on what the situation is, it probably is not coming back to the States with me. Because I've had this thing since I still lived in Minnesota the first time. Or not the first time, but like when I first moved into my apartment in Minnesota. Like you guys saw me recording all the time. Not all the time, but like, you know, when I was still doing the like isolation university thing. So yeah, I think actually this looks pretty good. Kind of nice. Okay, so the only thing I need to do is put on my what's its face mascara later. Also need to pick up more mascara. This one is starting to like really dry out. The holidays, the things I've been thinking about mostly have been like okay, what can I do to still make this time special for me? Because like while it's not going to be the same, I can still do something. And in talking with housemates, I think there's going to be like 3 of us actually around for Christmas morning, 4 of us for Christmas Eve. And so planning out, okay, let's do something to at least make it feel that we are able to celebrate, which I'm gonna have to like start prepping stuff earlier, probably like not on Christmas, because I have offered to do a couple of things. Christmas Day, like Christmas Eve, I've got an idea, but I'm probably gonna need to like leave work a little bit earlier. But then again, I highly doubt there's gonna be many people in the office on actual Christmas Eve. Like, we have to go into work, but like if I leave at like 4:45, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem. Plus, being me, I probably will then show up early to be like, okay, I'm still gonna get my 8 hours in, even though there's nobody there to watch me. Yeah, I am like, that's something I always am feeling guilty about, is like trying to make sure I get all my work in and whatnot. Yeah, I'm thinking, I offered to make a like mulligatawny soup, which again, not at all like a holiday thing, but one time we'd made it for Christmas Eve, and like my sibling was really excited to try out this recipe, and so I associate it with Christmas, and like specifically Christmas Eve, and it's going to be a lot easier to make that than like trying to make tamales, because that would be like, that's a full day endeavor. And while one of my housemates is from Mexico City, I'm like, I don't know if you really want to help me try to make tamales. So yeah, I was gonna do that, and then trying to do like pancakes for breakfast on Christmas Day. So we have something going on. So we have some festivities that like still bring us a form of joy, have like a little bit of champagne, maybe do like a movie night, figure out what Christmas movie to watch. I mean, I'm actually like, the ones that I'm really partial to are A Charlie Brown Christmas, which I know people like, it's got the like religious tones to it, but it just, I remember watching it in school. It's the same thing where I love the Charlie Brown like Thanksgiving specials, which I have not actually watched in a while. And both the one that's like the Pilgrims, and then the one that is the like Charlie Brown doing the OG Friendsgiving with all of his friends for Thanksgiving, which somebody also pointed out, like there is stuff where they were really trying to, they were for the time very progressive with like Jefferson actually. Editing OB, the character's name is Franklin, not Jefferson. Wrong founding father, my bad. Also, it's things that like, I miss having eggnog. I didn't particularly like, eggnog was not my absolute favorite thing, but like having a glass of eggnog here or there, the fact that I cannot get like an eggnog latte, or like my favorite was like a chestnut praline latte. That's just not a thing here. For some reason they decided like Starbucks had like red velvet as like one of the holiday flavors. I'm like, red velvet is a Valentine's Day flavor if you're going to do that. Not a thing, not like a Christmas flavor. Like what? Belgian Starbucks, what are you talking about? Because I don't even like going to Starbucks, but I've been like, you guys have seen a couple of times I've gone, mostly when I've been at the train station, be like, okay, maybe I can get the like holiday flavors that I want, because like things like I want things that are peppermint flavored, and it's not here really. Maybe I'll check out one of the coffee shops to see if they have it or not while I'm walking around, but yeah, I don't know. And that's been a whole emotional thing of, I can't get all the same like holiday things that I expect. Oops. Oh shoot, that took a chunk out of my effectively mirror stuff. Like that, did not mean to do that. That's fun. Okay, I got mostly on the pants, but I do not care nearly as much about the pants as I do like other things, so that's fine. I don't actually even use the like highlighters. I just like it for the like really large mirror, honestly. I need to get a better mirror. Like that is something, because I do need to also get a new hairbrush, because mine was really cheap and a lot of the pieces are falling off, so might as well actually get something that I'd use. So, or like that's not as bad for my scalp. That's probably gonna be something I have to go to do today. Yeah, I don't know what else to really discuss, in the fact that like I've tried to have like some holiday decorations, be a little bit more festive. We have actually down in the main area Christmas lights. We don't have a Christmas tree. Coincidentally, my office has a live Christmas tree, which I initially was like, wait, because I walked past it and it smelled like a Christmas tree. And I was like, oh, okay. And then realizing, oh, that's a real one, like feeling it. And initially being shocked, I'm like, that is bold of you to like trust us with a real Christmas tree. But it's like, wait a second, there's so many plants in this office that like, it makes sense. One of the like directors, she keeps orchids. Like, of course we are going to be able to keep a Christmas tree alive. My blush harsh line, I'm like trying to get it to like blend out more, have very rosy cheeks. Let's see. Cause like I know I've got big cheeks. Like I am a very like smiley person. I've got a very round face. Although actually, because it's like, yeah, it's more round than anything else. I know it's very youthful. I just make the comment that it's because like I'm descended from a lot of German farmers. Also, I like to joke, I'm like surprised it's all German. Like, you know how like there's cramification and everything. I'm like almost all of my family lines can just draw their like lineage back to some German. Because like it's things of my maternal grandmother. They're German, but from Alsace, or like partially. There's also some Prussian in there. Like the husband was from like Alsace, but the wife was theoretically Prussian. And then like the Swedish side still has like a German last name. My paternal grandfather, who was like very Irish, to the point where when my sibling had gone to Ireland when they were studying in Europe, they were like, everybody looks like our grandfather. Like all of the bus drivers, all the old men look exactly like our grandfather. Because my maternal grandfather was really into genealogy, he found that there was still a German on that side too. Where like it's all kind of just German. Because like also on my paternal grandmother's side, who I look a decent amount like her. I mean, I look like both my grandmothers really. But like her family are Germans from Russia, which explains why like the family was in like Cheyenne, although actually they were in Montana, but still like they moved down to Cheyenne, and like my great grandmother was born originally in Colorado. That's been kind of a thing of just talking about like, yeah, everybody's from different, like all the different states. Also, I think of it with like talking to a lot of my coworkers, they're in this thing of like, it's crazy you've moved so far away, not just in the like why ghent sort of conversation, but like moved so far, isn't that kind of crazy? Everybody lives so close by. And I'm like, I'm from America, like just the size of the country. But even that, they're like a lot more like naturally, like my family has been much more of like everybody just kind of moves, all moves around. I think of the fact that like, yeah, they immigrated initially across an entire ocean. And so they kind of just, like, it was much more natural for the kids then to be like, okay, yeah, you move away. And that's just kind of continued. And my family, I think, is not especially unique, but in the fact that, like, I don't think we've stayed in one place for more than a generation or two. It's kind of unusual, like, with my cousin's kids, like, one cousin specifically, his kids are, like, on our side, 4th generation Montana. However, even when I say that, I'm like, it's because the family ends up moving back to Montana. But like my grandmother was born in Montana, but then moved and lived the majority of her life in Wyoming. My aunt was born in Montana, but has moved around multiple times throughout her life. Like she lived a lot of it in Wyoming, and then she was in Montana, but then went to like Colorado for a while, and then has moved back to Montana. And even my cousin was born in Montana, but then moved to like the Pacific Northwest for like 8-9 years, something like that. So it was not like stagnant in like one spot. And that's something I think about, especially when talking with coworkers who have lived in the same village, or like their family has lived in the same village for like generations upon generations. Like, yeah, no, we are used to like a lot more mobility. I mean, I think of it like my great grandfather was born in the Oklahoma Territory, and before that, like, and then they ended up going to like Illinois and whatnot, but they were from like previously the Kentucky area. It's all over, and that's just kind of the nature of like how my family approaches it. So for me, going to Belgium was not particularly out of the ordinary. Okay, I had not been sure what lipstick I wanted based off of my makeup look, is how that was gonna go. Finally figured it out. I'm going with my Charlotte Tilbury again, because then I can then just put it with the Makeup by Mario lip gloss as like a touch-up thing. So to kind of have initially like a more stark look, but then go into just having it more daylight. Yeah, looks good, because I was not sure with how bright this sweater was. Like, it's going back and forth, and I was like, you really need to have like a really good lip to match it if you want to go with a red. But this, I think, is kind of just like, oh, effortlessly breezy. I think it works well. And then I've also got my perfume. I'm like working through it. I finally finished my Opus Core like 2 days ago, and now I'm finishing up this Rose 31, which I've had for like 2 years now. Not great, but like I would periodically forget to wear perfumes, or it'd be like it's special occasion. I'm like, no, you've got so many perfumes, you need to use them. So, and they're all like sample size pretty much. I think I've got like one larger size that I got from that like advent calendar that I had picked up. So we're gonna use the Rose 31 from Le Labo, and yeah, go on with the day. That was probably, because I also do one in the back. That one, the first spritz was not great. Now it's good. I'm a little bit, I was worried yesterday because I wore it and I was like, am I just projecting too much? But you know what? It wears really nicely, so we'll go with it. I hope you guys like this video. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!